Hi, this is Dr. Krowoller for Autism Recovery System. This video is on the phospholipase A2 test and the use of CDP choline supplement. So phospholipids are these building blocks of cell membrane function. What they do is they provide a barrier between the inside and the outside of cells. So phospholipids are involved in things called receptors where chemical signals can interact with the cells, ion channels where things like sodium and potassium can flow into and out of cells. So they play a significant role in cell health. Now, phospholipase A2 is a specific enzyme that breaks down a specific phospholipid at a certain position in the overall mechanism of this phospholipid chemistry, if you will. So when these phospholipids are broken down, okay, they break down into what are called free fatty acids. Now, free fatty acids can have a beneficial role throughout the body in that some of them can actually generate certain levels of low levels of inflammation and other factors as well. But too much inflammation is problematic. Inflammation in the body isn't necessarily always a bad thing because inflammation can elicit immune response. It increases blood flow to certain areas. But of course, too much inflammation, and particularly chronic inflammation, is problematic. It's interesting in that certain nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin E can all inhibit phospholipase A2 activity, as well as this particular supplement called C. Now, phospholipase A2 is not only just produced locally, but it can be transported throughout the entire bloodstream that when it's too high can cause damage of tissues elsewhere. So there's a lot of collateral damage effects of things like that things come about from the phospholipase A2. And phospholipase A2 elevations are implicated in a wide variety of disorders. So neurodegenerative problems, mental health issues, chronic infections, brain trauma. They're now showing that individuals with concussions often have elevations of phospholipase A2, and it is seen in autoimmune as well as in autism. Chronic infections, as I mentioned, like Candida, even Clostridia, can release phospholipase A2. And again, too much of this can have a cell damaging effect. So it can damage the cell membranes, that membrane that protects the inner workings of the cell. It can denature proteins, which then affect cellular function as well as organ function throughout the body. It's interesting, bee stings or bees and the stings from bees, as well as venom from poisonous snakes, all contain phospholipase A2. That's why they cause a breakdown of the tissue. I wouldn't be surprised that the bite from like a brown recluse spider, which totally degrades the tissues around the bite, also contain a phospholipase A2. And there's been a lot of research in this in chronic neurological conditions like Alzheimer's. There's also research into elevations of phospholipase A2 being in some individuals with autism as well. Lipase A2 test is available from Great Plains Laboratory. It is a urine profile, so it's generally, I wouldn't say not all urine tests are easy to get for special needs kids, but it's not a blood test. So it is a urine analysis, and we can see here on this particular profile, we see an elevation of phospholipase A2, so clearly it should be normal. New Beginnings Nutritionals carries a particular supplement called CDP choline. And the CDP choline essentially is a precursor to phospholipid production. It helps restore brain levels of different types of compounds called phosphatidylserine and phosphatidylcholine, etc. These are all important for the function of the nervous system, the nerve cells, and the myelin sheath. The myelin sheath is this coating that occurs around nerve cells that allow for increased electrical impulses. It also helps to increase levels of certain neurotransmitters, dopamine, norepinephrine for energy and memory, dopamine for fine motor control, and acetylcholine, which is for memory. Now, they've done a lot of research in the use of CDP-choline in Alzheimer's and other types of chronic neurological problems. As I mentioned, it is being used with people with concussions as well. In many adults, it's advocated with Alzheimer's, for example, to use levels upwards of 1,000 milligrams per day. And really, no side effects have really been noticed of any significance. Maybe some mild gastrointestinal symptoms in some individuals. When they've looked at levels like in Alzheimer's, there's no abnormal blood chemistries that were found. So overall, it's a very safe supplement. I think with many of the special needs kids, it's worth starting lower, maybe 250 milligrams per day, with a range anywhere between 250 to 750 milligrams is what I've typically used in my practice. I will have individuals start with just a 250 milligram capsule and then maybe double that dose after a week to see what the overall effects will be. And it's like a lot of things, it's one of those supplements that needs to be used for a couple months to see what the overall benefit would be. And that could be improvements in eye contact, improvements in language, improvements in memory and attention, etc. So this is something that is available from New Beginnings Nutritionals. There's a website called LabTest Plus, labtestplus.com. Carries a number of different labs from Great Plains Laboratory, including the phospholipase A2 test. So you can go to labtestplus.com, get more information on the different labs available. And each lab comes with, that's ordered through this lab, ordered through the site, comes with a personalized written interpretation of findings and then action steps, suggestions based on those particular markers. Thank you. I'm Dr. Kurt Wohler for AutismRecoverySystem.com.